Hey guys, it's Hannah and welcome back to The Dyslexic Reader. Today I'm going to do a discussion video and talk about a period of my life when I stopped reading. I didn't read for years and years and years, and I'm going to discuss why that happened, and hopefully some of it will be relatable, and if it's not, still hope you enjoy me sort of rambling about how I fell out of reading and then how I got back into it again. Okay, so I'm going to start with primary school, which for those of you who are not UK dwellers, goes from the ages of 4 to 11. That's obviously when you start to learn to read and stuff. I loved reading. I wasn't particularly good at it. I'm obviously dyslexic, but at this I wasn't diagnosed until secondary school. So I loved reading, but I found it quite hard. I wasn't good at it, but I loved it. The reading group, so the books that you got home to read were obviously grouped in ability. So some people were maybe still on books that just had a sentence on each page below a picture, and then right up to chapter books. So we're starting getting into like middle of the school now, maybe P5, which is 9 years old, 8 years old. And I started really wanting to read. I was never in the top group. I was always in like sort of second highest or the middle, depending if there was 3 or 4 groups in the class. But I always wanted to read what the top group was reading. So I always used to go out and either buy those books, get them for birthday presents or Christmas presents, and then try to read them at home, obviously at a slower pace and with the help of my parents or whatever. And I always like read them at home, so at least that I could like talk to the people about the book and stuff, because I always loved discussing what I was reading as well as actually reading. Hence I've started my Booktube channel so I can gush. And I finally did in P7, the final year of primary school, get into the top reading group. So I was only in the top for 1 year, but we read some fabulous books. We read, I remember The Silver Sword, Goodnight Tom. These are novels that have really changed my life and made an impact on me and my reading style, which I'll ever be grateful for. And I would say that put me on a real high for going into secondary school and continue reading and finding out what books we were going to be reading in secondary school. So in secondary school, which is from 11 to 18, I started and I found out you didn't really like read books to go home. Well, maybe at GCSE and stuff you would study a specific book, but really in English you weren't really like given books and you had a couple of weeks to finish it, and then you brought in and had a one-on-one chat with the teacher. So that was completely different for me. But I continued up my reading. I continued going to the library and continued to love books. However, with my dyslexia, I have always found I still do love middle grade books. Like I do read. I have these sitting from my wrap up. I do read big chunks of adult book too, but I still enjoy like an easy read. I find that I need to do a hard read, easy read, hard read, easy read at least, to sort of clear my head and make it so that reading isn't becoming a chore. So I was reading, well, probably below what my peers were reading age-wise. Now for me this wasn't a problem, and I never thought about it. But then I started to get picked on a lot for what I was reading. People used to say to me, oh, that's a baby book, why are you even bothering reading that? Oh, I read that when I was 7. I finished that in 1 day. How come you're still reading that book? And it wasn't necessarily bullying, but I was picked on and pointed out by my peers for reading below sort of what my age would be. At this point I still probably still wasn't statemented for dyslexia at this age, so this is about 11, 12. A lot of my peers had read Harry Potter, and I was still on, I guess, what you would class for like books for like 8, 9-year-olds. I could have read, I think, at a push what they were reading. Maybe not Harry Potter, that was maybe a bit too high. But I could have read most. I'm sorry, the lights got like all of a sudden really bright and glary in here. I could have read what they were reading on the most part, but I would have found it hard. I would not have found it enjoyable, and it certainly would have taken me a hell of a lot longer than it took them. So I enjoyed the shorter, easier books that I could actually enjoy the reading rather than struggle over the actual reading of the book. But I was picked on a lot, so I would stop reading in school, and then that stopped reading in public places, and then that's really just stopped my reading altogether. I did not read for pleasure. I maybe read a book or two over the whole summer holidays and never read throughout the year. Then as I got older, once we hit GCSEs at sort of 14 and right up through university, I found time. A real struggle to find time to read, and any time that I did have to read, the last thing I wanted to do was read, because I had been studying, reading academic books all day long, and the last thing I wanted to do was read when I got home, even if it was reading for pleasure. So I lost a lot of that enjoyment, I would say, through the sort of end of secondary school and through university. So from like mid-teens to early 20s. However, once I left university, really in my final year of university and sort of leaving, I discovered Booktube. And I found out what Booktube was all about, and I watched it, and it gave me new ideas for books, and it really fueled my passion for books and kicked me up again, you know, into gear. Like, my passion increased. I went back and got a library card. I had a library card as a child, and so I didn't have to get a new one. They just issued me a new card because I was already on the system, and they said I hadn't used my library card since I was 11, and I would say that's probably when I stopped going to the library and reading. So that was a good 10 years that I hadn't been to the library. I now go to the library 3 times a month and get several books out. I'm reading more in a month that I would have read in a year previously, and I love it. I love it so much. I've started up, obviously, my own Booktube channel. I love talking to you guys about books, and I'm incredibly excited. I have just realised this whole video, this has been up. I filmed that about 2 seconds ago, so please ignore that. I just had not an argument, a debate with my family this morning over WhatsApp. Me, my brother and my mum have a wee WhatsApp group. It's my dad's birthday today, and my mum had stuck a candle in a Jaffa cake. If you know what a Jaffa, I'm not sure if they even have them in America. Definitely the rest of the UK and Europe has them. Jaffa cake, she stuck a candle in it and brought it with him with his breakfast in bed for his birthday. And he wouldn't blow out the candle because he said a Jaffa cake was not a cake, it was indeed a biscuit. So we had a really intense discussion this morning over the phone whether a Jaffa cake was indeed a cake or a biscuit. I'll not tell you what side I am on, but if you want to post in the comments your opinion on that, I would love to hear what you say. If you want to talk about the books, ask me questions, say about if you had sort of years and years of your life where you didn't read. Do you regret it? Do you think it made you a stronger reader now? Anything of that sort, comment down below. I hope you're all happy. I hope you're all healthy, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.